All right, y'all. Getting things started in here. I'll give it a minute for things to show up and ready for y'all. If you want, you can feel free to hop in and put some questions in the chat. If y'all want, super pumped to have y'all here. Before we actually go fully live on this thing and I hit record, I'll talk a little bit about a little Colorado time as a couple people kind of fill in. Pomona last weekend was amazing. Shout out to a number of the athletes I work with out there in the 2 mile and the mile, as well as the 400. Bryce Weeks, 49.7, first time under 50 seconds for him. So super excited to see that. Coach Matthew, our sprint coach at Peak Speed, has done an absolutely amazing job with his sprinters. Excited to see the 4x4 team at Golden, breaking not only the meet record, but also the school record yesterday. Out here in Colorado, we're up for some crazy weather this weekend. So thankfully Pomona, which is normally a pretty fast meet, did live up to the hype. And even better to that, we also saw some great results out in Arcadia. Ben Wolf dropping a 9:02, Emery 10:20, Bobby running 1:55 with no spikes in his spikes. Don't even know the whole story there, but man, pretty cool to see everybody kind of putting together some performances that I know that they were all looking forward to. And really making the most out of that winter training. And that's a big part of what we do here at Peak. So if you are new to Peak, you don't really know a lot about me, maybe you're finding this for the first time. I'm Coach Andrew Simmons, and I'm the head coach of our Peak Elite team, as well as the coach overseeing our high school distance program. Work with athletes across Colorado as well as across the U.S. And we will have some pretty exciting news here at the very end about our upcoming summer training program. So super excited to share that with you guys. That training group will start June 10th. So keep that in mind. I'll share a little bit more about that at the end. If you've got some, questions and things like that, I'll answer it then and share a little bit more with y'all. But let's hop into today's episode. I'll roll the intro. So I'll record this later so it can go up on Spotify. So part of it feels a little weird. All right, welcome back to Jog Your Mind. This is the place for you guys to not only train your body, but also train your mind. We're going to take something that's a little bit uncomfortable today. We're going to tackle, I think, one of the most essential parts of growth: patience. I'll tell you guys a little story that just this last week, I was talking to a young lady whom I coach, and I've been telling her that P word for a long time. And even though patience doesn't have 4 letters in it, I think she looks at it as a 4-letter word at this point. Just not seeing the results that she's been wanting to see, and has really been frustrated by it, has tried to change a lot of things. And I keep telling her, be patient, be patient. Sometimes it's puberty. Sometimes it's life. Sometimes it's stress. Sometimes it's just the things not working the way that you want it to. And I had some thought about that. And I was reading a book. This was actually a really great memoir that was given to me called Faithfully Religionless. I promise you it's not about religion at all. It's actually about someone, going and becoming a monk, so to speak. And talks in there about the idea of why there is such a traumatic experience for many people through puberty, because it is something that you don't control, right? You think about divorce, you think about so many elements of life where people have a tough time in their youth. And it's quite often surrounding decisions that were made for them, things that they had no part or ability to control within that. And that is where I see a lot of athletes in their high school years, whether that is a setback from an injury, a setback through the growing stages of puberty, or whatever it may be. That is why it can be such a struggle to go through. And so that's what I wanted to kind of tackle today. I know this is a topic we've gone over a few times in previous seasons, but I really, really believe that these, keys to growth are worth understanding. And I think the first one is to understand that growth does not obey a timeline. We kind of live in this world of instant gratification where you can microwave a meal in 90 seconds and stream a movie in 2 clicks. Like, it's so easy to scroll right past through someone's highlight reel of life. Like, I grab my phone right now and find 10 stories about how great someone's run is or whatever it is. And it's this thing that goes in our mind that it cannot be this hard for everybody else. And I want you guys to understand that like running, yes, it does work like that, but it doesn't. It's the understanding that growth is not this beautiful linear thing. You don't just get faster every week just because you trained hard. Sometimes you feel like you're regressing, that you're stuck or whatever. And you could even be sidelined by an injury. In those moments, patience isn't just a virtue, it's your lifeline. It's all you've got. And I want you to understand that the truth is improvement lives in the quiet in between. There's days where you've got to do the work where no one's watching. There's no medals, there's no fanfare, no fireworks. It's just you and your shoes, and you're out on the trail, and you don't have your training partners. You don't have all of those other things. And the reality is realizing that you don't always need all of those things that you thought were those motivating things, because the growth happens when you take control of what is happening. And what I mean by that is taking control of the entire concept of owning all of the little things and not leaving them to chance, but also understanding that it takes time. And that's the part where most people give up. Most people give up when they're square in the middle. And that's the hardest place to be, because you're just as far from the start as you were to the finish. And it feels like it's going nowhere. And I think it's really important that the best way to do this is to not look at everything as something that is happening to you. I know you guys have probably heard it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And what that's really trying to do is help you redefine setbacks as part of the process. And so let's dig into that. There's moments that kind of feel like they derail us. It could be something as simple as a twisted ankle out on a run, a PR that you missed by 2 seconds, and even not finishing a race. And it leaves you feeling gutted because that injury you thought you were behind flares up at lap 6 of 8 in the 2 mile. And these setbacks, they're not just detours. They are the path. It's not like you got taken off your path. That's the path that you are meant to go down. And that's the thing I think is really important that you guys need to kind of look here is like, you didn't get shifted off the path. This injury, this setback, whatever it is part of the path. And we have this analogy of a rear view mirror that's been used quite a bit. And I think it's so important because if you've had success and you feel like you got derailed, part of you wants to wish that you could turn around and take the detour back onto the path that you were on instead of just taking the detour, right? Because the detour is a little bit longer. It's a little bit out of the way. It's a little bit harder. And you have to understand that this little detour is not the thing it can either define you or it can refine you. And it's like when you hit a wall, what in this moment am I trying or am I being taught? Right? Am I resisting or am I growing? Right? And it's these things that when you guys are getting further and further down that detour, so to speak, it can be really hard. And you don't know, hey, when is this next turn? When am I going to get back onto this path? And you keep thinking, all right, I got to look in this rearview mirror because that's where I was. That's when I was at my best, was behind me. Right? And it's really hard to not look back behind you and see that, oh man, that's where I was at my best. That was the best time because that was me when I was at my best. But the reality is that you're never going to go back there. Never, 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 never are you going to go back to the way that you were. Really great book. I don't know if I have it behind me here. Let me see if I can grab it. Hold on. Brad Stulberg's book, Master of Change. And he talks about the idea that there really isn't a way for us to kind of do this thing where we are at A, right, at a place, something happens, an injury, a setback, right, whatever it is, puberty, let's just use that as an example, and then B, where you are right now. And it never goes from like A to B back to A. It goes A to B to C. And it's this idea that like there's this stage where we're going to fight to go to B and then back to A. And we will fight and we will fight and we will fight until we realize that fighting isn't getting us further down the road. And so those of you that are stuck and you feel like, oh man, I'm not who I want to be right now, and I'm not where I want to go right now. Well, redefine what that future version of you looks like, because you are not defined by an injury, by an illness, by a sickness, by a setback, by puberty, right? You are being taught something right now. You're being taught about how to look to gain perspective on into the future. And so let's answer that last question. Am I resisting or am I growing? And I can promise you, if you're driving in the car and you're looking behind you the whole time, you're going to crash. You're going to crash out. Something's not going to go well. And what you have to do is trust that this sport is about the long game. If you are really, really lucky and you started in this sport in 6th grade as a middle schooler and you had, 7th grade, 8th grade, that's 3 great years. You get another 4 years in high school to follow through the system here like we have in the United States. So that's a solid 7 years of running. And if you're really, really lucky, you go to the NCAA, you get 11 years. You get 11 years inside the normal system into the NCAA. Redshirting here and there, maybe you get 5. Okay. So realistically, you have 12 years at a maximum to run and be able to compete against people that are at your level, at your age, roughly, in competition. Now, once that's done, running is one of those sports that you do get to go do more. You can road race, you can trail run, you can go to ultras, you can stick to the track, you can do all sorts of great things. And realizing that this game is a really long game and that you can continue to compete at a really high level. This is one of the few sports where you can sign up for a race and go race against the absolute best and see how you do against them. You can't do that in football, right? You can't do that in a whole lot of other sports. So being able to run is huge. Right. And trusting that the long game is not just this metaphor of that runners go the distance, but it's this kind of physical and emotional thing. And it's this resistance to chase immediate success and understanding that you have to embrace slow progress. And if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, I talk about the idea of a season's best mindset. And it's this idea that even if your season is not going the way that you want it to, maybe last year you're an 11-minute 2-miler as a lady, and this year you can't break 12. Well, if your last race was like 12:06, maybe the best thing to do is shoot for a 12 flat instead of trying to keep running 11 flat. If your fitness isn't there, compete at the field that you're at and try to move the needle forward. It's not going to feel like as big of a reward as it did when you were PRing and going as fast as you were. But that's not why you're here. If you're only in the game to PR, then this is not a sport for you. If you are here to challenge yourself and be posed a challenge and to figure out how to solve it, because the goal will be, of course, to go after a PR again. But right now, given the circumstances, those things may not be possible, right? As hard as you want them, as much as that, you have to resist that urge to look in the rearview mirror behind you, you cannot get stuck right there. And when I say stuck, it's that urge to want to look back. It's getting stuck in that you are a victim of what's happening to you right now. And so I want you guys to look at this as like, if this was a race, if this was a test, and I want you to look at it and kind of look out. This is one little test, right? If you look at racing that way and see that there's this season, the year, your entire running career as a big story arc, right? And you're not just training for this race because you have this other thing that's going to happen after. You're going to have more races in your life. And so you are meant to learn something from this race. And if you're stubborn and you're stuck and you're not letting yourself look bigger in the picture, then you're going to miss the story that you're trying to build. You're going to have a run-on sentence, so to speak, inside that story arc. And realizing that a lot of this game it's going to be hard. It's going to be boring at times. And sometimes progress feels invisible. Right? You might have gone from 12 flat, to 11:40, but you're still 40 seconds from your PR. You just took 20 seconds off your season best, and that's huge. And you did that because you didn't go out so hard trying to chase that 11 flat. You went out in a smarter race and you progressed and you followed the basic understanding of how to run a race well. And that's what I think I want you guys to see in this is that the long game is realizing that there are principles to this and there will be progression. There will be setbacks. You will climb a mountain every season. You will get to the point of your season where you are at your fastest and then you'll recover. And then you'll go to cross country and then you'll recover. And then you're going to go on back to track. And hopefully, yes, you go up in this semi-linear fashion in an ideal world. But sometimes that mountain that you hit this big peak off of, you're back down here and you're just kind of floating across this line for a while, not making a ton of progress, even though you feel like you're putting in the work. It's boring. And you're not getting what you want. But guess what? There's a lot of other things in life that are happening, right? Like, hey, like got a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Hey, I got my driver's license. Hey, I'm looking at this college. Hey, they actually want me to go there. And oh, this coach is talking to me. And your PRs and everything are just not moving. They're not doing anything. But so much life is doing this behind it and realizing that just because you want your running to go well, life is not going to stop for you, and life impacts how you run. And so understanding that there is a long game, and as you go through this area of high school, you are handed more and more responsibilities, expectations, and life is going to challenge you to manage them. And if everything is managed well, then your stress is managed well and your body's doing well. And it's saying, hey, all right, we're going to go back up. We can do times again. But you also can't just shut all of that other stuff out to just run well. I've met those people, and everybody handles everything for them. And that's great. But the reality is that once they get to college and they did all of the right things, so to speak, and they got there, it's like everything now falls apart because they didn't develop those skills to be a great human. And if you know me, if you know our program, my goal is to not just create great athletes, is to create great people. And great people have to go through adversity. Some of the worst people I've met in my life have never been dealt adversity. They didn't struggle enough in their childhood. And that doesn't mean that they had to go through something traumatic or bad. It means they weren't posed enough challenges in life where they had to think for themselves and believe in themselves and say, hey, I got this and I'm going to figure this out. It just got moved out of the way for them. And so the next time that they're even met with the smallest grade of a hill, it's like, oh man, they just crumble. Not, physically, but metaphorically, when they're met with a challenge, they don't know how to be resilient. And so I want you guys to, give you guys, I guess, a skill that I've used in the past. And we've talked about the racing blueprint, but more so when you find yourself kind of having that mindset shift to negativity, when you have to go up that metaphorical hill, I think the first thing is pausing, zooming out, and kind of trying this idea of refocusing. And sometimes the biggest win inside a race or inside, a moment of self-doubt where you're feeling really bad about yourself is asking yourself, why do I feel so bad? Right? I know it's a very simple question. Why am I feeling this way? Right? What did I lose? Right? And being able to kind of shift that of like, okay, what did I lose out on? I didn't win the race. I didn't PR. I didn't move my time forward, whatever it is. I want you to build that into an idea of like, what can I build next? Right? Not what did I lose? You didn't lose anything, right? You were being presented a challenge and it either improved, right? And we built something great. We built, right, one more plank on the bridge to get across to where we want to go. Or it didn't go well. We feel like we lost something. We feel like we're not any good. We feel like we're just, crummy at this sport. And we're never going to go to college. And we just do this big spiral. And you have to ask, what can I build next? You have to keep this idea of going forward and looking forward and saying, how do I move myself forward? There's many different ways to look at it. And then just do that. Move forward. Take a step. Take the next small step. And that's how you progress little by little. These are baby steps. And sometimes it's just stop feeling bad for yourself, right? I can remember my dad, he wouldn't get mad at me if I played poorly in a soccer game. I didn't do well in a swim meet, whatever it was. He would just tell me, okay, how do we get better? How do you get better? It was never, hey, I'm disappointed in you. It was, how do you get better? What do you need to do? And sometimes I didn't have an answer and it would just be a discussion and there wouldn't be always an end result. And sometimes the result, so to speak, of that was just, I showed up for practice the next day. I went and tried again at the next swim meet and I kept, trying to get better. And that was that boring plateau phase of my life where I just had to keep going and trying again, trying a new strategy, talking with my coach, talking with my dad, having great races and saying, oh, okay, I changed this, right? I went to a different breathing pattern. I went to a different stroke pattern, whatever it was. And then we moved a step forward and I'd make these like jumps and you go, okay, that worked. And then we're back to here again. And then it keeps playing and altering. And that was part of growing up. And that was understanding that you just have to keep playing the game. You have to keep going out and keep training and putting the miles in, but not doing it listening back to the last episode, not doing it out of fear, not feeling like you're going to lose out on something, but doing it because it is something that is joyful and something that gives back to you. You are going to face moments when the work doesn't seem to match the reward whatsoever. But if you can be patient, truly patient, you'll build something that lasts. I want you guys to see that. I can look back at 2009, my very first marathon. That's coming up on 16, almost 17 years of marathons and running being something that I've done every single day. The fitness and the mentality that I built in 2009 is part of what has allowed me to lose almost 90 pounds as a human. It's what has allowed me to maintain a lifestyle and some place to have an outlet that even when I'm injured, what I find is that it's about moving my body. I know I will not be able to run my entire life, or at least the way that I do now, 40, 50 miles a week. I am going to have to reframe how I look at running as exercise and looking at it as I need to move my body every day. And so that has given me something, right? And even though I'm going to meet resistance in life and in work and in projects that I'm trying and new ideas, my runs, my way of moving my body is where I'm going to go think and create and have new ideas. And realizing that I'm going to get stuck in my running and I am going to get stuck in work. I'm going to get stuck in other places, but I have to ask myself the very simple question of what can I build next? And it's not to just build something next and shift my entire priorities and say, well, guess what? YouTube Live didn't work because there's two people here. It means, well, do I need to promote it better? Do I need to get out and market? Do I need to try and tell more people, hey, it would be really cool if you showed up and asked some questions on this. I think it would help other people key in and ask some questions and be curious, right? And maybe I just need to do this for another year, 2 years, or 7 years until that 2 turns to 200 to 2,000. But my motivation isn't to be out here to get more people to my live stream. I do this because I want to educate people that if someone stumbles upon this and they go, wow, that changed how I look at this, then I know that I've done my job. And it may just be me, a microphone, and a webcam staring out into the void for a really long time. But I built this and I'll build something next. And I just want to keep trying to pursue greatness, challenge myself, and get better at what I do. So, with that said, I want you to understand that greatness will hide and you have to keep seeking it out. So I appreciate you guys spending some time with me today. And then as to speak, jogging your mind with me. That's the end of the formal podcast. I'll hit record over here to end my formal recording. I did promise anybody that was here early on that I would share a little bit about our summer cross-country training group. This is June 10th through August 18th. Registration will open up on Friday, so tomorrow. If you're listening to this, by the time you're listening to this live, or I should say the recording of it, so if you're watching this on Friday morning, it should be out. There are 2 plans this year. There's the basic, and that's $155 for the entire summer for everything. And that is a structured training program. All of it will go to your watch. And it's something that I have created the structure of. And then my goal is to understand how many miles a week everybody is running, and being able to create something that is going to help you level up. If you're looking for something that has like strength training and a couple of other elements inside that, we are partnered with Koros for this, and we will have a number of athletes that will be coming in. So if you want to be a part of like our live discussions and doing some other exciting things with athletes, having a chance to talk to them or hearing from me, we will do a once a month call alongside the athlete calls, and that's $225. So that's the calls, group call with me each month. And that's for $225 for the entire summer. And so it's a great way that if you are in Denver but can't make it out for practices, you have job, work, parents, whatever it is, you don't drive yet, that's a great opportunity for you. Or if you don't live in Colorado and are outside of being able to come to practices, this is a great way to follow training that I've created. It is, relatively speaking, leveled up. So if you are someone that is new to the sport and just kind of following along here, that's going to be at a very basic level. We'll kind of like basic, intermediate, advanced, and then really, really advanced. And this is about as cheap as anybody can get for a program. And that goes from June 10th through August 18th. Super excited to have you guys along for that, and look forward to having you all out here. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to email me. You can always email me, andrew@peakperformrun.com. I don't have any questions in the chat. That's totally okay. Appreciate all of you guys taking some time to sit down with me today. Hope something in here was insightful or gave you something to chew on and think about. So with that said, I will see you guys next week. I'll try to be back on for our regular time at 6:30. Had to get to an appointment tonight. So I will see you guys later. Have a good one.